Hello everyone, I have the pleasure to be joined by Tom Escoffier, which I hope I pronounced that correctly. The highest placing Arakni slip through the cracks at World Tour Singapore, just coming up his top 4. How are you feeling?
I'm really feeling like still ecstatic, still not realizing it. It was like an amazing run, really great games and really great top 4 game, and I'm super happy to have been there with my friends from France, so yeah.
Yeah, you were highest placing slip through the cracks. You came into the top 8 first seed as well. Absolutely incredible run.
Yeah, it wasn't like something I expected coming into the tournament, of course, but I won in the mirror in the top 8, so I climbed my spot at the top as the top sleepy, winning 6 mirrors. So yeah,
that was really impressive. We were looking through your record, and you beat 5 slippies in the Swiss, and you beat the one in top 8 as well. Absolutely incredible. So let's go ahead and talk about the deck that you brought to Pro Tour, starting with the equipment. So what we have laid out here, folks, for everyone listening, is that we have the core of the deck right now, and we will talk about the sideboard right after this. So let's start with the equipment. Anything in particular you want to point out?
For this equipment, for the main deck equipment, they're basically the basic sleepy equipment. You have your 2 claves, you have crown, tunic, flick knives, and black tech. Black tech has superseded Snapdragons recently because Sintra's there, and that's a block 1. There's not much to say about them. They're really great, and you play them in the majority of matchups.
Do you ever miss the Snapdragon sometimes for the unconditional go again if they overblock something?
Sometimes, but you don't miss them as much in Sleepy that you would do in Mario, for example, because just you have the natural go again. So it's not often an issue.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's move on. We have separated out the cards, the main deck cards, into categories. Let's start with the stealth cards. So Mark of the Black Widow, Infect, and Kiss of Death, a kind of default red double trouble, though. Talk to us about that card.
It's a great rate. It's like 5-4-0 if you manage to do 2 attack reactions. It's quite easy to do 2 attack reactions with this version of the deck, especially because of Conceal Blade, and we have the red Backshroud in sideboard as well for like more offensive matchups. And otherwise, like, it pushes deck damage. Sometimes your win condition against Gravy Bones is just to take them out, and if you manage to like reduce the number of threats you have to deal with, it can ease you in the matchup, and otherwise like it's just the best offensive rate you can get in a stealth card.
So it's almost like the same rate as the Infect, right? And that's why the Infect is there, 0 for 5 basically?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about ratios real quick. So you have 12 stealth cards here. Is that the ratio you've liked as the number of stealth cards? Well,
usually, there's only 51 cards in the main board. Usually there's between like 3 to 4 more stealths coming in. So we're more around 15 red stealth cards.
Got it. And of course you have some blue stealth cards. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Important as well.
Yeah. Coming back to ratios, then talk about the reactions over here. So 3 Spike with Blood Rod in the main board.
Yeah. Once again, because we have Shroud in the sideboard, which we're going to talk afterwards. Otherwise, it's a block 3, so it's never like too bad to have them. And like with Kiss of Death, they're amazing, and if you have Shroud and Double Trouble, it's also like a 2-card 10 play, so it's really good as well and really helps pushing damage when you need to. I've been really impressed by the card. I wasn't running it like until 1 or 2 weeks before the Pro Tour, and they've really impressed me in the testing games I've had, and I decided to go with the full suite for the Pro Tour. For the rest of the attack reaction, they're pretty basic. Like you have your take-ups, you have your Razor's Edge, Justinic, Toxin. Yeah. That's what you're going to find.
Most of these others are pretty standard, as you said, 3 each of all of them. But I do want to come to Justinic a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you found this in testing, but I think in my team there's a little bit of contention on how many copies of Justinic to run, and especially in your list where you're running 2 of Conceal Blade instead of more blue stealth cards in that slot. So you have 9 targets for the Justinic. Did you find that 3 copies were sometimes clunky, or were you very happy with the 3?
I was very happy with the 3 because like they up the number of damage points that they can deal over the course of the game, and being able like to just blue and Justinic clear a chump, for example, like this is obviously you want to send the Justinic to your opponent's face most of the time, but like they're flexible. And the thing is, I found with Sleepy, you're not that afraid to arsenal a Justinic as you would have never had with New. Like it was the number 1 rule: don't arsenal Justinic. But with Sleepy, like you have Crown, and it can sit there, take up the mantle, can bring back a bounce, and like most of like your toughest matchup, you win them by getting a big bounce and getting like some impactful banish from your opponent. So I found like the 3 Justinics are just necessary.
And if you really have to, like say you Arsenal Justinic and you draw Codex, you can still just use it for just one of the modes, right?
Absolutely.
Did that come up in your games at all?
I don't think so. I try not to if I can avoid it. I try to line my plays around it. But yeah, it can help deck out your opponent. You don't want to because that's just one card from the deck. But yeah, sometimes it happens. I try not to Arsenal them if I can, of course. But like if I had to, I'll snap Arsenal them off of Wonder, for example.
So moving on to non-stealth, non-reaction cards. 3 copies of a Command and Conquer. Talk to us about that.
Card is just great. That's CNC. You have Tunic, so you can afford to just like red Tunic for a CNC, that's fine. You have 6 yellows as well that can pitch for CNC, and you're an assassin, so people are going to run in defense reaction against you, so just 3 CNC, and I've never felt bad about having 3.
And one line in Slippy that I thought was super cool is once you have the Kalishra set up, you can pitch a blue for just the Kalishra. You don't even need Tunic to Codex CNC.
That's a 2-7, and you don't need the Tunic. And yeah, you have the Tunic CNC play and Tunic Codex from like way from outsiders. So like that's still the bread and butter of Assassin. So still great to have.
Speaking of bread and butter, I believe Leave No Witnesses and Codex of Frailty don't need too much elaboration either. It's some of the strongest cards in Assassin. Let's talk about 3 Orb Weaver Spinneret. Did the number of this ever go up or down? Like say you dip into the blue or yellow copies, or?
I've stayed on the reds. They're just like good extenders, good rate. Worst case scenario, they're going to go for 4 because you're going to get a Kalishra that you're going to flick afterwards. It's just like a good way to extend your turn. You're never sad to see them unless when you have no stealth, which happened a bit too much to me in the top 4 game. But yeah, they're just a staple of the deck, I'd say.
Okay. And let's talk about the Savor Bloodshed. This is also contentious. The copies of this I've seen anywhere between 0 to 3 in Slippy lists. You've landed on 1. Talk to us about that.
Well, to be fair, a lot of the construction of the deck has been made by comparing the Sleepy decks that won nationals. Lupine Fiasco did a great video on this, and it helped me a lot, like realize some stuff I wasn't sure of. I saw them in all the lists that won nationals, and I was like, okay, maybe I gotta reconsider them. So shout out to him. And the thing with Savor is, I think the card is amazing. Like on base, it's like almost 0 for 7. You're just trading a clay for it. But the problem is you're trading a clay for it most of the time. So you already are quite mark hungry in the deck. You have the Black Widows, you have the Take Up the Mantle. So I wanted to play some Savor Bloodshed. I was debating between 1 and 2. And I ended up on 1 because it like fitted the ratios and the number of cards in the deck better. And like when I get it, I can ponder whether I want to play it, if like I need my mark for the remainder of the game, or I can just say, okay, it's just a 1 card, I'm going to block with it and be fine. But like when it lines up, it's amazing.
True. Most games you actually only get 2 marks, right? Unless you get like a Conceal Blade off or something. Most of the games you only get 2 marks, and you kind of want one of them to be on Take Up the Mantle. So I really like your comment on being very mark hungry. So speaking of that, let's go on and talk about the 2 of Conceal Blade.
Yeah. This
is a very spicy pick. Not every Slippy list has this. So how do you land on this card?
I was also of them for a long time before realizing like most of the nationals winning them at them. So when I tested them first, I had like 3 Concealed Blades, 1 Clave, and 1 Marks of the Huntsman in Sideboard. It was a bit too much, like it takes up 5 slots. That's a bit slot hungry. So I reduced it to 2, and like I find it a better way to retrieve your daggers than pick up the point or up 6 and run. Up 6 and run is super clunky in this version because you don't have the blue base to support it, and up 6 and run is just a head jab. Like it's not a really good card by itself. So Conceal Blade has the double advantage of being a blue, blocking 3, and it also can surprise your opponent because it works on Leave No Witnesses, and sometimes like your opponent just doesn't see it coming, and it's another layer of additional attack reactions when you need them for double trouble, when you need them for bonds. So it's quite a flexible card. You have to lower down the number of blue stealths you're playing, but I found that the 10 to 12 stealths are a bit less impactful than the 9s that are pretty standard. Like Bonds of Attraction blue is good against gravy, but even then you don't want to send it face. And Art of Desire Mind is hit or miss depending on the matchup. So I've been really happy with the Conceal Blade.
So moving on to the blue stealth cards that you do have, Prognosis and Bonds of Agony, again, very standard, don't need to talk about those. Talk to us about how you landed on Double Trouble.
It's same reason as the red ones. They're the best offensive rate for blue you can have access to. They offer like deck thinning and they're just flexible. I won my top 8 match of Double Trouble Just Unique. Like straight out of nothing, your 1 becomes 8, and then you're pushing a lot of damage. And it's still in the same spirit of Sleepy that you want to mix up your damage. You want to have your opponent on their toes all the time and don't know how to block efficiently. And they feel that role much better than Infect. That would be like the other blue that does the same amount of damage on paper, but like here they can be like, yeah, more difficult to read.
And they can mill your opponent out even
Absolutely.
further, as you pointed out, as the other axis of attack that you typically have.
Yeah.
So that was the core of the deck. Let's go ahead and move on to the sideboard. So here we have the sideboard. Let's once again start with the equipment. So third Hunter's Clave, I mean, you're running 2 of Concealed Blades.
It's for Conceal Blade,
so you can't just have to. Balance of Justice, just for gravy?
No, for much more matchups actually. Well, for gravy they're really good. I was running Prone first place, but I found that if you want to try to fatigue gravy, you need balance. And that ended up being my strategy if I can't get the tempo. So in gravy, and I was expecting a lot of gravy, balance is great. If you run into Prism, if you run into Dash.io, if you run into Marlin, we had a lot of testing with Marlin in our team. And I was also running balance into Syndra because I wanted to get the extra slot and not run Perdition, because I found that if you Perdition and like you need to line up the Perdition with the Art of Desire body, and like if your opponent has the D-React, you don't have like the AR at the right time. Balance does the job well in the matchup. So I was really happy with balance.
Makes
here.
sense. When does Redback Shroud come in?
Syndra and Dash.io and maybe like all the super aggro matchups. Like basically it's the same reasoning. I don't want Tunic because the game is not going to run like more than 6 or 7 turns, and it also has the added benefit of being an additional attack reaction for Bonds and for Double Trouble. Once again, the Redback Spike on a Double Trouble is a very aggressive play, and that's another piece of equipment you're really happy to buy back with silvers, even more than black decks I found, because then it can be like another extra resource down the line. So in those matchups, like Redback's really great.
Awesome. And I see you're sporting AB2 Spell Void 2. Did you ever miss the third one?
I didn't run into Kano or Ocilio, which would be the only 2 matchups I would run into. Like Verdance, I'm only on AB2, so I didn't miss. And I was like, into Ocilio, I'm fine running Redback because once again, game is going to be fast. I get 1 value blocking, and into Kano, well, whatever happens, it's already good into Kano. You don't have that many blues, so I was fine running only 2.
Makes sense. Let's move on to the main deck cards then. You've got 6 defense reactions. Is it mostly for the mirror or anything else?
Mirror, Syndra. I ended up running them into gravy when I tried to fatigue them.
Okay.
Because like they can bait a Conqueror and they help you like stay in the game when you're being aggressed. And honestly, you play them in a lot of matchups where it's just like aggro decks or
Prism.
aggro tempo. Yeah, Prism as well, of course. Yeah. No extra poppers because no spots.
All right. So let's move on to the offensive main deck cards in these additional attacks that we have here, starting with Pain in the backside. When do these not come in?
Mostly in Syndra and the Mirror. In Syndra because they block 2, in the Mirror because they block 2. In the Mirror I was running a bit more than 60, and the whole weekend I was debating how many Pain in the backside I want to get in. I ended up on 1 to present 63, but usually my opponents were presenting between 64 and 66. So I was like, I want to get like a little bit of over 60 to not go to fatigue because the matchup can go to fatigue. But otherwise, like whenever you're not boarding the defense reaction, Pain in the backside comes in.
Yeah, and when you draw 2 of these in the same hand, it feels like it's a death sentence, like into the mirror.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want 2 in the same hand ever. and you have Codex as well. That's a block too, and I didn't want like over than 4 or 5 2 blocks, not non-blocks.
So Out of Desire body then, mostly for Syndra, the mirror as well.
Yeah, it comes in most of the time as well because it's just a good card. Even in Gravy, that's deck damage, even if you don't banish a red. So, and it's a stealth. So basically in Gravy, you board all the attacks because you need like stealth density to just clear the allies. And the other 4 are for Gravy anyway.
And do you board up into Gravy if you're potentially trying to
I was debating this as well. I think I was on 62 in the semi-final. 64 to 64 because you have to board the defense reactions as well. I was cutting the Spike with Blood Rots against Gravy because they're clunky in that matchup.
Makes sense. So Bonds of Attraction also mostly for Gravy, or is there anything else?
Mostly for Gravy. Like, can go into some of the matchups when you want to board more than 60 or when like Out of Desire body is not good, but mostly for Gravy. To be fair, I think these 4 should have been 3 Infiltrates and maybe a Bond of Attraction or 2 Bond of Attraction. Like, these 6 cards, I'm not so convinced of them. I wasn't expecting that many sleepies, so I made a decision to cut Infiltrate. I've debated like back and forth on it. Honestly, well, it ended up being okay because I won all my mirrors, but I would have been like more comfortable with Infiltrate.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the Infiltrate because I think most Slippy lists, like, I don't think they've cut it in a long time, but you've elected to exclude it in favor of more Gravy tech. So
not all Slippy lists were running it. That was also why I was like debating. And like the card is good, but sometimes it's just whiffs, and it does match up when you just don't want it.
Yeah. So were you impressed with these cards into Gravy? Bonds
of Attraction is really good, especially in red into Gravy. Like in the semi-final, it banished a Whaler. So I was hopeful when I banished the Whaler, but then my bonds stayed at the real bonds stayed at the bottom of the deck, so it didn't help me. But yeah, Bonds of Attraction are really good into Gravy. Undercover Acquisition a little bit less so, but they're threatening when they have room. They're also like amazing into Dash IO if you run into them. I was expecting maybe a bit more Dash IO at the Pro Tour, and I've had a couple like matches when you just steal a Cerebellum and they just look at you and you're like, okay, I've sold on your Cerebellum. I don't tick down the counter. I draw a card and arsenal it. Like, it just does everything.
That's kind of funny, actually.
And into Kasai, it steals gold as well. And
Right.
I was expecting some Kasai.
So let's move on to Codex of Bloodrot.
Yeah.
How did you land on 2 copies and how did you find them?
It was for Earth mirrors, for Earth matchup mostly, because like they can be a bit. They sometimes they don't want to arsenal cards. You can like force them and then present arsenal disruption. It's an extender. It gives you a ponder. Of course, sometimes it's clunky. They stayed in the deck box for the whole trip, so they had a nice trip to Singapore. I didn't have to play them. I would probably cut them for shreds and infiltrates and modify a little bit the ratios.
Awesome. Well, I hope they enjoyed that trip to Singapore, and I hope you enjoyed your trip to Singapore
completely.
as well.
It was amazing.
Thank you again for joining us for this deck tech, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you.